Welcome to Positive Recovery MD. If you're listening, chances are you want to create happiness around you and thrive in your life. We're glad you're here and you've come to the right place. This podcast will inspire and motivate you to not merely survive your recovery journey. We'll give you the tools to build or strengthen your foundation to thrive and flourish in your life. Each week, we will come together as a community to have authentic conversations around addiction, recovery, and what matters. Growth and progress, not perfection. All while developing positive habits for you to utilize. To learn more, please visit positiverecoverymd.com to sign up to receive the daily positive interventions that will review, as well as gain access to exclusive Positive Recovery content available only to Positive Recovery MD listeners. All right, let's get started.
Hello, welcome to Positive Recovery MD. If you're new here, I'm your host, Dr. Jason Powers, and we have a co-host today, George Joseph. But in each episode, we are going to cover a variety of topics in the recovery space, including positive psychology, best practices for a successful recovery journey, power of gratitude, and why accountability and community matter. We also interview industry-leading experts about their experiences in helping others thrive and flourish. This week, I want to share with you the topic of love. Since it's February and it's Valentine's Day, and the topic of love is perfect for GJ or George Joseph, who is an industry leader in the addiction space and also has 33, 35, 42. How many thousands of years do you have sober?
Sober? 42 plus.
42. So yeah, so he's a member of the hair club for men and the owner.
Mm-hmm.
So what are your initial thoughts about self-love and choosing love over substances, maybe being compassionate with oneself? Like what comes up for you?
I mean, love is such a ever encompassing word. I mean, it's such a large word. It's such a vast word. It fits in so many categories for what the recovery journey is all about. I mean, I think the whole process is about love. Loving yourself, loving the world, loving your spiritual journey. It's just, to me, love such a warm and cuddly word. And recovery is not always easy, but it's a loving path. It's a loving journey.
It is. I'm not a particularly religious person, but I do know, I'm the one God, have no other gods before me. And I remember thinking when I was active in my addiction, my entire world, there was no love, there was no compassion. It was the addiction, right? It was sort of just doing whatever I got to do to make sure that I'm serving that master. And did I love myself? No. Did I love my wife? I wanted to do those things. I wanted to love other people. I wanted to, be there, but it was really tough. I mean, they say that, the antidote to addiction is connection. And there's no connection without love, I don't think.
Yeah. Addiction, to me, addiction blocks love, but some of it comes out, and then it's manipulation. it hits the wall of addiction, and it comes out as manipulation because it's to survive. For addiction to survive, it has to manipulate others.
Right.
And you hit a wall with addiction. I think same thing about emotional growth. It's our emotional growth stops when we start our addiction. And the same thing with love. And that's part of the emotional growth. And recovery, to me, is really unfolding that to where it's emotional growth instead of emotional stagnation. And it's learning about how to love ourselves, love others. I mean, I still, through my recovery journey, I didn't always love myself. And even when I got a little bit of success, I would basically sabotage it because I didn't feel like it. They talk about the imposter syndrome, you get in, I've seen people do that in recovery where the success hits them so fast, so hard that they can't handle it. And they stumble and screw it up because they don't feel worthy. And so I think also for addicts and alcoholics, it's the journey of feeling worthy enough for self-love and to love, to be able to accept the love. I mean, I've 9 people tell me great things and one guy tells me something negative. I'm going to spend more time on that one negative thing than the 9 good things.
Oh man, what you're saying is I shooting down this idyllic image I've got of you, man. I thought you were like superhuman. Because I was gonna say you don't strike me as somebody who doesn't really practice self-love. I mean that in the highest compliment. And a lot of us in recovery sort of struggle with that. Like, what is, I hear self-love. What does it mean to you? So somebody, oh, it's good that you struggled with it. I mean, that's great. But somebody who I think and I see practices it a lot, like kind of what do you?
Yeah, I mean, I've come a long way, and I don't. This is through the whole sobriety journey. So yeah, I have this the self love, and I work to not sabotage myself. I'm doing things to take care of myself. The biggest thing I've done in the last few years, and maybe it was COVID that kind of wakes you up to your body, mind, and spirit, but to the body part, my body part, and maybe turning 60 was a big part of it too. But I've lost weight, I've gained muscle, I've have the best fitness I've probably had in 20 plus years, and picked up pickleball, which is amazing fun and exercise, and play basketball still at my age against a lot of younger people. And so to me, that's part of my self love, but also the sports activities post that is how to take care of myself. Like I've been working a lot of mobility stuff. Like every day when I get out of bed, I do like a 20-minute mobility routine to help myself, and I've suffered through addiction. I mean, I was in car accidents, got rods in my back, and messed up my liver, and so there's a lot of pain that still stayed with me my whole life. So
Yeah.
love is how to overcome that and to accept that I do have some limitations, but the limitations can continue to be pushed by taking care of myself, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that totally does.
My self-love too is I'm looking more and more and studying more and more, and I think there's more and more science coming about on longevity. I never thought I'd live past 21, and now I'm shooting for 90 if I could get there. I'll be happy to get to 80 or 70, but now it's like I know we live one day at a time, but I have more of an arching desire to have high quality life as long as I can. And if I can get to 90, I want to have it, the highest of quality of life. And so that means I have to get to work and look for, things that are studied on longevity.
Yeah, man, I'm a big fan of it, with the blue zones and, Dan Buettner's work. Eat a lot of beans. I mean, I think something like eating a serving of beans a day give you like 7 healthy extra years of life, which is crazy, but
Yeah.
like you move a lot. So your life has a lot of activity and you do things I always see with other people. So like that's the trick of longevity is eating like a whole food, plant-based diet, mostly tons of exercise, tons of community involvement, um, you know, faith or meaning in life, things that are meaningful definitely help.
Yeah.
But yeah,
And exercise, do sauna, they say helps. The cold plunge. I mean, I'm trying all these things, the NMM medication or supplements that, help that, they think that's going to help the longevity. So I think that's part of self-love. I think that, addicts go from survival to prospering, and in that prospering stage, sometimes they overdo it and forget about their own self and their own, health. And, because we go from drinking and drugging. So then we start overeating or, doing other things that might not be the best for us. And, I know guys in recovery that drink, 30 Diet Cokes or, a day, or they, drink coffee all day, or things that may not be in their best interest, but they're happy to be sober. And so can you go from happiness to be sober to happiness to have higher quality of life,
right.
And have longevity? I mean, AA 12 steps has come so far just on the smoking aspect.
I know.
I remember when they were talking about meetings to not allow people to smoke in meetings, and there was really discussion that AA would fold, that people would not go to AA. And, it has not, I haven't seen it, that the attendance has been just as good with non-smoking meetings as it was with smoking meetings. In fact, maybe it's better because some people couldn't breathe when they were in those meetings where everybody had cigarettes, so.
Man, that's how I quit smoking. I mean, I joke and say it was easier for me to quit smoking than getting my wife to stop nagging me about it. But I heard somebody talk about how like smoking is an active form of self-harm. And it's like,
yeah,
I got it. And he's like, quitting is an act of self-love. And I didn't really know how to practice self-love. I was like really new in recovery. And didn't have a history of it. So I thought, okay, I'm going to do it. And I felt better, not just physically, but like, I felt better about my recovery, obviously.
Yeah.
Switching gears just a little bit, same topic though. So what about the type of, like, how can love help somebody who's got sort of this, just kind of, they come into recovery and, a lot of trauma, wreckage of the past, they just feel a lot of shame and guilt, right? Like, how can it help? How do you see how it can help? How would you guide a newcomer in that light? Like, where does self-love show up in that?
The word, when you're speaking about it, the word that comes up for me is compassion. And I think that the beauty of recovery is that sometimes we're more compassionate to others than they are to themselves. And so to teach them to have compassion for themselves, and sometimes you have to give them a paradox or whatever. You got to say, hey, how much compassion if somebody else has had the same things that you were dealing with? What compassion would you show for them? Well, if they're in recovery, then strongly in recovery, they're like, oh, I'd do anything for them. Whatever. And hey, the same applies to you. You can do it for yourself. Just like the men's step, when we put a list for amends, I've always had sponsees to make sure they put themselves, because we have to do an amends to ourselves and the trauma and things that we put our bodies through and our families through. And, that, hey, we got to cut ourselves a little slack. And I think a lot of times alcoholics and addicts and even family members, they don't want addicts to cut themselves too much slack because, we'll take advantage of it. But there is a balance to cut yourself some slack and still work your recovery program and not slack off. It's all about balance. I mean, overanalyze, I say that sometimes too. You don't have to overanalyze people. We get too far in our heads sometimes.
Yeah, that's true. There's also like kind of the darker side of love, which if you have a substance abuse issue, if you're an addict, chances are there's something else. So like, we talk about 13th step is kind of getting in a relationship with somebody who's early in recovery, or you doing it. Like, and the 1 year, like, don't dating for a year, that's sort of arbitrary. It's kind of like if you're healthy, but how does somebody know when that, where's that line at? Where do they get guidance for that?
Yeah, it's just a benchmark. You're right. It could be somebody with 5 years sober that's not mature enough to be in a relationship, and you can have somebody maybe less than a year sober that's really, advanced in their emotional growth that could handle a positive relationship. But it's wherever that 1 year came from, it's just been out there forever. That, hey, it's mainly to give yourself time to get to know yourself. I think if we get to know ourselves better, then we'll be a better partner to whoever we get in a relationship with. And sometimes I think because we're newly sober and we see these people and they're beautiful and they're showing me some attention, and I haven't been getting attention for years when I was using, that, the hormones kick in and they're like, oh, they always had that joke, that how do you know two recovering people are getting hooked up is like the second date, there's a U-Haul behind their car. they're ready to move in because they just got the perfect relationship, and that's not realistic. It takes time and effort, and I think the year, it's kind of I don't know what it's called, just arbitrary. I don't know who knows whoever started using the year, but it's kind of stuck. And it's to get to know yourself and to get to know other people in recovery to build your foundation. Because when you do get in a relationship, as we all know, you start to kind of pull away from recovery. And then when the relationship has some troubles, if you don't have that foundation to fall back on, to call people or to go to a meeting where they can see it in your face that you're hurting, or, that you've had a issue with your person you're in a relationship with, then you go to the bottle, or you go to porn, or you go to the internet, or you go somewhere outside of yourself to heal or to grow.
So, it's Valentine's month, and what are you planning to do? What are like some cool ideas for showing?
I don't know, man. I'm so hammered. I had these couple months are tough for me because we have Christmas. My wife's birthday is on January 6th. We got Valentine's Day. It's like, man, I got to keep up in the ante after. It's like back to back.
Oh my God.
And I got to breathe in between. But I'm not sure about my Valentine's wish list. A lot of times it's overhyped for restaurants, and then
right.
it's not a good experience because everybody's slammed in there. So sometimes I like to do a Valentine lunch, or, maybe bring something in and, get candles and a bubble bath, or just, low key. I mean, it's one of those things that's like one day at a time and it's just another day. But then obviously you should be showing that love every day, the way I look at it. But
Right.
yes, that day you have to ramp it up. So maybe get a masseuse to come in so she can get a massage while, and not while I'm getting dinner ready or something. Just, as you get older, you get more low key. Obviously, when you're younger, you want to do things, go out, go do something kind of spectacular. But I think the smaller, thoughtful things are just as powerful.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I'm taking notes for sure. Love, like you were saying, it's very broad, and I think it's broad also because it's kind of endless, right? Like there's no like, it's not like you love 5 people and then you get friendly with somebody, or you have another child and you're like, well, I'm out of love. No, I think it's boundless, right?
Yeah, it's definitely. And I think some people, and it's not just about love, it's about a lot of things. I think there are people that put limits on things. Like I know some people, and I've been involved with some people that they know they're going to be tired before they're tired. Like they know they got some activities coming up. And so they're like, oh, I'm going to be tired tomorrow night. Well, how do you know you're going to be tired tomorrow night? You might be regenerized. You might be re-energized on your activities and having fun. And it's like, people always ask me why I can keep going like I do. And it's like, I think I don't limit myself with being tired. Obviously there are times you got to rest, and there's rest days, but same thing for, like you said about love. It's like, I'm giving so much to, I gotta get some back, and yes, you do have to, refill your tank, but you can refill it yourself without getting accolades or the love from someone else, or you can ask for it. I mean, I think the bravest thing to anybody can do is to ask for love, to say, hey, I'm not feeling love right now. What is it that you can do to let me feel special for this moment? That's the scariest thing, because it's like taking the risk of vulnerability.
Oh my God. Oh, I know. That is the bravest thing. It's, I think, like a mark of a healthy relationship when you finally figure that out.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, it is. It's scary. Because what if the person doesn't like respond well?
Yeah. Or they respond like it's even worse. They're going to say the right things, but it's to feel it, like,
Exactly.
Are you just saying it to be nice, to be compliant to me, or you really feel this way? Like, nothing against my wife, but she is the most amazing card writer. Like, her cards are so powerful. Like, I got one right now on the counter from her birthday stuff. Like, she was really good about thanking me for whatever I do for the special days, right? And so her words, I have to hold on to her words, because there's some days I'm like, I don't know if I'm feeling it. You know what I mean? Like, she's just in her world and I'm obviously in my world and I'm not feeling it. But if I read her cards and read her words, I'm like, oh, she really does love me. She really does care about me. Maybe I am special to her, instead of a roommate or whatever. So I have to live.
Man, thank you for sharing with that.
Yeah. Everybody has their love language, how we communicate it, and then sometimes we just get into the worldly things, and the world pulls us away from the love, and the love to me is part of our spiritual journey. And how do we express that?
That's deep, man. That's awesome.
Not bad for somebody from South Louisiana.
That's great, man. I think we got some great stuff.
Yeah, I think so.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Positive Recovery MD. I enjoyed the session, and if anything that you heard resonated with you, reach out to us, send us a message, and we'll get back to you.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Positive Recovery MD. Don't forget to visit positiverecovery.com/podcast to sign up to get your daily positive interventions sent straight to your inbox. Be sure to subscribe to Positive Recovery MD on Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen to your podcasts to receive an automatic download when a new episode drops. And as always, if you or someone you know needs help, visit positiverecovery.com or call 877-4-SOBRIETY. That's 877-476-2743. Our why is simple. We care. We are here to help.